What's going on, guys? So for this video today, it's a bit of an unconventional format, I guess. I don't have a script with me. I just kind of wanted to press record and see what I could talk about and discuss, especially when it comes to Helldivers 2 right now, because I've been playing the game for the past, couple of weeks right now, and I'm about 30-ish to 35 hours in the game. And to tell you the truth, I'm having an absolute blast of the game. Just thinking about its potential as a live service game, what the developers have done recently to not only improve the matchmaking and the server quality and being able to get us into games a lot quicker and more efficient than before because they weren't counting on such success for this game. It's been an interesting ride for the past week or so, and it's getting me thinking about the future for the game and also the future for the gaming industry as a whole when it comes to this kind of game, as well as what they could do different or add to, or what anyone else could do or add to their own games to pretty much make any game like this a staple or something that could even take gaming in a completely different direction than where it is right now. Because when you think about games and live service games, it's typically the ones that are of the competitive format. So we're talking games like League of Legends, Overwatch, Counter-Strike, Valorant, Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, all of those. These team-based, or even in Fortnite, battle royale ones where it's competitive player versus player games. And they've got the battle passes and the item shop and all this stuff for them to generate revenue off of it, but also give everyone free content, updates, quality of life improvements, and stuff like that. But the interesting thing about Helldivers is that it's not PvP at all, yet it's still a third-person shooter with a completely different take on that formula, but also it's adding something new, something that I think is very, very interesting. And maybe not completely new, because when I first saw Helldivers 2, I was curious as to what the whole point of the game was. You drop in on these planets, you fight these bugs and these robots, and you just kind of rinse and repeat. And it's like, yes, but it's different. It's a consistent galactic war that is persistent. And I think that's the real key thing that's going to drive this game years and years down the road. A similar game like this, I first thought of was PlanetSide 2, but that was a war between, I believe, 3 separate factions, was it? And it was straight up PvP, and each faction is trying to get control over certain areas of the map and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So it was a consistent war against people, whereas this game is a consistent war against the computer, against bots, AI. And I think that differentiation could potentially make this one of the best live service games on the market, and probably ever has been. So over the course of this video, I kind of just want to talk about not really 5 questions, but these 5 things that I think are worth diving into when it comes to talking about this game. So first things first, let's talk about how successful this game has been. So you take a look at the Steam reviews right now, it's moved back up to a mostly positive. It was actually teetering on the edge of mixed and mostly positive. I think at its lowest was at about 68%. And a lot of those had to do with the fact that the game, it was a struggle bus to try to get into the game. People were stuck at, max capacity servers, and there was just no room to get into the game, which is understandable. And again, back to the whole point of they didn't expect this much success. They were hosting a party for maybe 100,000, 200,000 people. I don't remember what their initial number was, but when they opened the door, suddenly, 500,000 people want to get in, and it's just like, whoa, bro, chill. We don't have room for you. Kudos for the devs for actually stepping up, and I believe their max right now is about 800,000. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can ever hit that. I think we will once they unleash a bunch of content and a bunch of quality of life improvements to really kind of push the game forward. Because when that whole debacle was going down, they had to scrap all their content that they were planning on doing, whatever their roadmap was beforehand, and they had to fix the server situation, and then they're going to readdress a lot of that probably in the future. So with that, the sheer amount of people playing the game is substantial, and being a new game out of nowhere pushing hundreds of thousands of people at all times is kind of crazy. And then on the SteamDB page, the owner estimations, they're ranging from somewhere as low as a couple million to somewhere as high as 15, and that's including both PlayStation and PC. So the sheer amount of money that they've made off of this game, if you either bought the $40 edition or the $60 edition, as well as buying any any microtransactions in the game if you wanted to, support the dev team, because it is a small studio in comparison to the larger AAA ones, but nonetheless, the amount of success that this game has received within the past couple weeks has been disgustingly good. And kudos for them for making a solid gameplay loop with, I think, potentially a very deep story-driven game. So next thing let's talk about is what is good about the game. Why did it take the world by storm? And I think at its core is the gameplay loop, which is you or a group of friends can drop in to a planet, and over the course of maybe 5 to 10 minutes, if you're just doing like the bots, destroy 150 bots within, X amount of time, or if you're doing like dropping an ICBM that could take you upwards of 30 to 40 minutes. You're in there for a good amount of time, and then depending on what difficulty you're doing, you have to go through 2 or 3 missions in order to complete an entire region of events, entire objective in a way. And I think that loop, and that also ties into you contributing towards the war effort, which I would say right now is a little bit underwhelming how much, I guess, impact that you're shown. I get that the whole impact system, it makes sense from the narrative perspective. There's planets all over the place, and you're just a small one-man squad or a 4-man squad. So the amount of contribution you can give to the war is going to be minuscule in comparison to the large-scale galactic war that is going on. But I think there also needs to be something a little bit extra in there to showcase to yourself, but also to other people, just how much effort you've given over the course of this season. And, this goes into any potential updates they give throughout the lifespan of this game, is if there's going to be seasonal updates that with battle passes and whatnot that go on for 3 to 4 months, how much effort can I give into this war and get something back in return, be it a reward, banner, gear, whatever, so that when you queue with other people know is like, oh, this guy went hard the last season, look how much he's contributed, just stuff like that, which is very relevant to other games, especially competitive games, where you grind up to masters, grandmasters, and you get, sprays and player icons that really showcase, your prestige in a way. I think something similar could go into this game, not necessarily to that extent, but something similar to it. And back to really what makes this game good is honestly the narrative. This idea of this ongoing galactic war between multiple factions is interesting and compelling, and they can do a lot more to introduce into that narrative to really up the immersion aspect of the game. And I think that's something we might be getting down the road, but definitely not right now, since they've had to, like I said before, scrap what they were thinking about doing and really double down, probably even quadruple down on what they can deliver to this game, because this game's got serious potential. I'll say it again. The sales numbers for this game are disgusting. So I'm really interested to see what they're going to do. Now, I also kind of want to address some current drama that's going on with the game. So recently I've seen the talk about meta picks for impossible or even Helldive missions when it comes to right now. And I don't remember which video I was watching, but I posted a comment, and I'll go and pull up that comment and just read you what I wrote down. All right, so what I wrote was, I think it's very premature to have a meta for this game, let alone enforcing one. In its life service cycle, there's probably going to be sessions where we need to win out missions in order to accomplish some sort of main objective. Think the current goal, defending the planets against the bots right now. These objectives could get much more difficult and challenging, where we need people to be at their best in order to win. Not just to have fun, but to try to win this intergalactic war. I can see a separate queue system for a more hardcore run where random queues are turned off, so it's only pre-made teams can do them, and I'm thinking, Destiny with their raids. This could give the more hardcore players a better experience to contribute to this game's ecosystem, but again, we don't know what that is or what's going to look like, since the devs had to focus on server stability, and the massive success of the game caused them to rethink their current roadmap. Right now, it's about having fun, grinding levels, and getting gear, and that's it. And I think that's really, really important when it comes to how people should be interacting with other people in the game. It's just about, one, probably helping other people reach Helldive. So if you're queuing with random people, ask them, hey, what's your highest level? Let's see if we can get you all the way up to Helldive, to, I would say, essentially assist in the war effort. And maybe that's something that they need to adjust as well, is that if you do the easier difficulties, it's not much of a contribution as it is doing the harder ones. There's a little bit of scaling that they need to implement. But I don't think right now is let's go as hard as we can into this galactic war. I think right now is kind of figuring out what we need to do, what we can do, because what what we have has potential, and that's the main thing. The other thing is I've heard recently that cheaters are starting to make their way into the game, and you know, to be honest, it's just like any other game when it comes to cheating. People don't accidentally install cheats onto their computer to use in a game. They do it deliberately, and you know, frankly, they always will. It's unfortunate that that's the case, but hopefully they institute a lot of good tools where they can detect cheaters and do God knows what to them at all times so that they learn their lesson. But you know, it's something unfortunately you can't prevent. Yes, it's a PvE game, and it makes quite literally no sense to do it. It's a game that's meant to kind of challenge you in a way, and if you have to circumvent those challenges in order to win, I guess, then sure, if it works for you, cool. But to be honest, I'm definitely one of those gamers where if I was given the option, even by the devs, hey, you want to use some of these cheats to beat our game? I'm just like, no, I want to play what you designed so that I can overcome the challenges that you guys wanted to put in your game. It doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to do that. And I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact when it comes to, again, this overarching galactic war that's going on. But, you know, that remains to be seen. So I guess we'll find out what happens down the road. So the fourth thing that I want to talk about is quality of life improvements that I want to see in the game, which are aplenty. I think one thing off the top of my head is giving us an emote wheel. So we have about a pretty decent amount of emotes, the hugging, the saluting, the butting heads together. That's a great one. But having, you know, a bunch of those equipped onto one wheel would probably go a long way. Up to them how many they want to put on, but that's definitely on the list of quality of life improvements I would love to see. Another would be, this all depends on what they want to do when it comes to their cosmetic gear. If they want to keep the colors static in a way so that when you get a piece of gear, it is this color, it looks like this, there is no adjusting to it, which, I mean, I guess I'm fine with. Another would be more customization, I guess, in the ship to make it your own, because everyone's got the same ship. You know, you look out the front window on the bridge of your ship and you see all the other ships and everyone is exactly the same. This might be less of a quality of life improvement, but more of a content improvement, giving us capabilities actually of maybe buying either with real money or fake money, or earning enough real money to then buy it that way, which is, you know, another really cool thing about this game. It's not super locked out of you having to spend money, having to drop real dollars into the game. You can work for everything, which, I mean, I can also point out that I bought the premium battle pass off of getting premium currency within the game. So it's completely possible. Anyone can do it, and it's not that big of a grind. Maybe they can turn down the amount of credits that are capable of being out there just to make it a little bit more difficult, because it really wasn't that hard to get all those points. I didn't accrue 1,000 just by finding them in game. I did get them through the free battle pass, but it's not that big of a deal. And having the ability to do that is really nice, and then spend it on things that you want is really cool. And just giving us more customization and making the game really our own, I think, is going to be a huge one that they're going to have to implement down the road. Another big thing is maybe giving us some more extra things, extra stuff to do outside of the normal gameplay loop, which could mean maybe more player-on-player interaction. So you can, with your group of 4, be in one ship and you interact and hang out and do whatever, but maybe there could be hubs where you can have 30, 40, 50 people all interacting in like a very instance sort of deal. Again, I'm thinking something out of Destiny where we could go somewhere to interact with one another, maybe pick up side missions and stuff like that from NPCs, just something extra to do outside the gameplay loop that is so relevant to the overarching story and whatnot. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about its future and the potential that this game has. So like I've been saying pretty much the entire video, I think the future of this game is extremely bright. And it's based solely on the fact of what kind of game it is. It's a live service game with this ongoing war that they can take in a million different ways. And I've heard, I believe from them, that the way that the narrative is going to unfold, for the most part, is going to be player driven. So it all depends on where we are, what battles we are fighting, how successful we are at winning those battles, and how we're shifting the tides of war. It's going to be up to the devs to see, okay, since they're going in this way, what can we shift in from the left or from the right to make it a little bit more interesting? And I believe that interplay is what's going to really drive the game forward, is this sort of, you know, this ongoing war where factions are going in harder, some are pulling back, some got defeated, maybe there's another one, a new one out of nowhere that gets introduced, and it's got, you know, a slew of different ways of how to deal with them. We need new equipment, new gear, different types of stuff in order to deal with them, because that's already kind of in the game. I don't know about anyone else, but typically when it comes to going against the bots or going against the bugs, I pick maybe a different weapon type. Maybe I go more shotgun instead of more rifle, depending on bugs or bots. Definitely depending on what stratagems you use for either one or the other. And that also is mission dependent. So there's already that kind of baked into the cake a little bit. What they're going to have to do is figure out what else can we introduce in terms of enemy types, but also what kind of tools that they can give us to not make it a win button, but make it a little bit more interesting. And could those also be used against those other factions that we were fighting before? So there's so much interplay and potential that can go on there. Every time they drop a piece of content or a big update, the pot would get stirred in a crazy way. And I think that's really what's going to make it kind of interesting. And then on top of that, I could see something to the extent of what Fortnite does, where it's cinematics all over the place, showcasing this new stuff that's going on and gets people all hyped together, and then day one patch drops, and then we're all going hard at this new section of the war that just emerged out of nowhere, and we had to get on the front lines and push back. And just, again, it can go in all sorts of ways. And I think that's really what's going to be the driving point for this game. So we're just going to have to wait and see what the devs have in mind. And until then, keep grinding, make sure you get all your basic stuff done. I'm definitely going to keep grinding here and there, waiting and hoping to see something interesting come out. So thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I appreciate it. Totally different format for me. I'm just kind of rambling and coasting. And, you know, hopefully I entertained you a little bit and gave you something to think about. Anyway, you guys have a good one. I will see you in the next video. Until then, I will see you guys later.